Commiefornia Bill 2273 would require websites and apps to verify visitors' ID. Do you really think any website is going to go through all this extra bullshit? Nah. Commiefornia's bill CAAB 2273, designed to enact the age-appropriate design code, is just among the bills raising concerns in terms of how they might negatively affect the web going forward. So the privacy concerns are one thing, but the other problem that many people never talk about is, do you have, especially for a giant website, imagine if your site gets millions of visitors. Do you have the resources to verify millions of IDs? Unless you're a giant mega corporation, the answer is no. So this is going to chase everyone who's not a giant mega corporation off the internet. Or they're just not going to have their site available in Commiefornia, which would also be a compromise I'm willing to make. So, like their counterparts in the EU, legislators in Commiefornia, according to their critics, present online child safety as their only goal. It's totally not about power and control, guys. It's to save the children. And their stated desire to improve this is hard to argue with, even when arguments are valid, such as the proposed bills may in fact do nothing to better protect children while eroding the rights of every internet user. Now, and this is something that I wish the younger generations would get used to, because it's a common tactic by all governments to do this. Like they attach their totalitarian shit to something that nobody would argue against, or else it would be political suicide for them. So among other things, AB 2273 aims to require sites and apps to authenticate the age of all users before allowing access. Attempts to introduce mandatory age authentication have also cropped up in other jurisdictions before, but have proven controversial, technically difficult to implement, with a high potential to compromise user data collected in this way and intrusive to people's privacy. It's Commiefornia. They don't care. So in Commiefornia, the situation doesn't look much different, as critics of this bill say the authentication will require site operators and businesses to deal with personal data collection from every user and worry about using and storing it securely. No company is going to do that. Yeah, this is a good point, actually. So they can ID check on the internet, but not voting. It's ironic, isn't it? So they can check your ID to get a pack of cigarettes, to get alcohol, to use the internet. But when it comes to choosing the leader of the free world, IDs are racist. Now, in addition to some kind of government-issued ID or surrendering biometric data, such as that collected through facial recognition, is necessary to prove one's age in the first place. And this is where forcing sites and services to require this information would effectively mean the end of anonymity online. Oh, okay. Let's frame this in a way that even Commiefornia can understand. Do you realize that this will kick illegal immigrants off the internet? Do you know how much you're hurting oppressed minorities by doing this, Commiefornia? Now, as ever, this is a threat that disproportionately felt by vulnerable categories of internet users, such as various dissidents, contrarians, minorities, as well as whistleblowers and activists. And the right to remain anonymous online also ties with the First Amendment protections in the U.S. It should, ideally. So anonymity is under threat, considering that age authentication would be imposed on all internet users. It also means that the way people use the internet today would change for good from the user experience point of view, with age authentication walls raised by websites. On top of that, verification would have to be persistent or require users to repeat the process each time they access a site or service, further aggravating privacy and data security concerns. Really now? You'd have to do it every time. Do you think even the larger companies have the manpower to do this? Now, current year is the year of U.S. midterm elections, so focusing on this type of feel-good legislation, such as making chill and safe, is the way politicians are expected to pander to their constituencies, regardless of all the unintended consequences or even the low likelihood that the scheme could be efficiently implemented purely from a technical point of view. Yeah, this is going to be one of those things that's probably never going to be enforced, except as one of those tack-on crimes when they want to make sure they stick you with something. Are they confident if they could get away with it? They are. I mean, it's Commiefornia. This is the same fucking state that had a chance to get rid of their dictator, but chose not to. But then again, pretty much everyone with a brain is moving out, so yeah. In other words, proposals are not properly thought through or debated, aren't even based on particularly successful attempts to square the same circle elsewhere in the world. The AADC is said to be inspired by Airstrip 1's Children's Code, aka Age Appropriate Design Code, which is a set of standards, With the Commiefornia proposal, the scope of issues covered by the bill is of particular concern to its critics. Privacy and safety of chillins are only one direct component, with others reaching as far as content moderation and consumer protection in general. This raises fears those critical of the bill that broad regulation of the internet could be introduced thanks to a seemingly innocuous act, and in fact giving Commiefornia Privacy Protection Agency new powers that allow it to start acting as the state's overall internet regulator. This was always going to happen. I think the internet's glory days are well in the past at this point. Now that governments and corpos are, involved in the nitty-gritty of the internet, it's pretty much game over. There's no coming back from this. The internet should have stayed free of government interference, but not going to happen. So, and the CPPA is seen as an agency that is neither interested nor competent enough to strike the right balance between a number of sensitive issues that would be covered by the new law, and at the same time getting a chance to usher in more censorship. Well, what's going to happen is everyone's just going to go to private invite-only communities that aren't even visible from the outside. Unless you have an account and you log in, you won't even be able to see the contents of the site. All the good stuff is going to be like that. The U.S. federal legislation that deals with the same issue, COPPA, kicks in when online services are aware that the users are younger than 13. With the CPPA, these services are expected to assess where and when it is reasonable to expect a child under 18 may be accessing them. Yeah, that's bullshit. And this is also why a lot of places have a rule like no minors. And if they find out you were lying about your age, they immediately ban you. Because at that point, it's too much of a risk to keep you around. Because if this gets to court and the court finds out you knew they were underage the whole time but never did anything about it, you're the one that's going to get into legal trouble. So if you have a not safe for work board or forum or something and someone reveals that they're underage, you need to ban them immediately. And if they bitch, just tell them, hey, make another account and shut the fuck up next time. The plan is currently for the act to become law and be enforced to enact the AADC starting July 1st, current year +2. But the current wording of the draft leaves it unclear as to who exactly and how would enforce it. I mean, it's Commiefornia. They're probably going to send the Stasi. The critics warn that among those considered in Commiefornia this year, AB 2273 is a bill of particular concern given the possible consequences. It's intentional. These at least aren't unintended consequences. They're doing this on purpose.